Have you ever felt that our civilization is like a game where the graphics have been updated to 4K, but it's actually running on an old bug-filled machine? In human history, there is one narrative we hold firmly. We evolved from primitive to modern slowly. From striking stones together to bronze, then iron, then to steam engines, and finally to the smartphone you're using to watch this video. The problem is this linear narrative often collides with reality on the ground. Archaeologists find building structures that, according to civil engineering logic, should not have been made by people who hadn't yet discovered the wheel or writing. This isn't about aliens, but about legacy hardware of a civilization far more advanced than what's written in your school textbooks. This time, we won't be discussing small hammers or batteries. We will discuss 8 giant structures that seem to have been placed there by a universe admin who forgot to delete assets from a previous civilization. Prepare your critical logic. Let's dissect these optimization errors in historical architecture. Puma Punku, the giant Lego of Bolivia. We start in the highlands of Bolivia. Puma Punku is a nightmare for modern engineers. Here you will find andesite blocks carved with an irrational level of precision. The corners are a perfect 90 degrees, the surfaces are as smooth as the output of a CNC machine, and there are small drill holes straighter than your wooden school ruler. The logic is this. Andesite is one of the hardest stones on Earth. According to history, the Tiahuanacu people who built this only had tools made of copper and stone. Your POV, try cutting granite with a tablespoon. Impossible, right? But at Puma Punku, these multi-ton stones were fitted with an interlocking system like Lego. This isn't just a building, it's evidence of high-end tools whose log files are missing from history. Gobekil Tepe, the temple that predated agriculture. In Turkey, there is a site called Gobekil Tepe. This site is 12,000 years old, meaning it was built when humans were supposedly still hunter-gatherers living in caves and hadn't yet figured out how to plant rice. Yet in reality, they were already able to carve 6-meter-high stone pillars with highly detailed animal reliefs. This is a sequence break in history. Logically, humans only settled down and built large structures after they had a food surplus from agriculture. But Gobekli Tepe existed before agriculture was invented. It's like you're installing a video editing app as heavy as Premiere Pro on a computer that doesn't have an operating system yet. Who organized thousands of people to carve these stones before the concepts of state or salary existed? Kailasa Temple, the 3D printer from a stone mountain. Moving to India, there is a masterpiece called Kailasa Temple. This building was not constructed by stacking stones from the bottom up. Instead, they carved a single mountain of rock from top to bottom. Yes, from the mountain peak to the ground floor. They removed 400,000 tons of rock just to leave behind one incredibly complex temple. Your POV, imagine you are carving a statue, but if you make even the slightest mistake, you can't add cement to cover it up. You have to be 100% precise from day one. Experts calculate that with the technology of that time, it should have taken hundreds of years to complete, yet historical records say it was completed in a very short time. This is evidence of a subtractive manufacturing technique that was far too advanced for its era. It's as if they possess power tools we have never found. Nan Madol, the Pacific Venice that is too heavy. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there is a dead city called Nan Madol, built on top of a coral reef. This city is composed of 92 man-made islands connected by canals. What's insane is the material. Thousands of basalt prism blocks with a total weight reaching millions of tons. The question is simple. Where did the stones come from and how were they transported? Basalt doesn't exist on that island. They had to transport them across the sea, then stack them on water without cement. Your POV, you're trying to balance piles of heavy stones on a wooden raft in the middle of the waves. Logically, a small island civilization wouldn't have the resources for a project this magnificent. Nan Madol is a nonsensical resource patch in the middle of a vast ocean. Sacsayhuaman, the stone puzzle without gaps. In Peru, there is a fortress named Sacsayhuaman. Here there are walls made of giant stones weighing 100 to 200 tons fitted extremely tightly. So tight, in fact, that you can't even slip a piece of paper between them. And remember, these stones are irregularly shaped, like an erratic but perfect puzzle. Our technical logic would say, okay, they must have used lasers to cut them. But history says they use other stones to pound them. Your POV, you have a stone as heavy as a city bus, and you have to fit its shape with another stone until there are no microscopic gaps. Manually? That is called organized insanity. Sacsayhuaman proves that the Inca civilization, or its predecessors, had an understanding of material science that surpassed the Iron Age. Derinkuyu, the doomsday bunker underground. In Cappadocia, Turkey, there is an underground city that can accommodate 20,000 people, complete with livestock and food warehouses. It reaches a depth of 18 stories underground. This isn't just a cave, but a city with a genius ventilation system and giant stone doors that can only be opened from the inside. The question, who were they so afraid of that they had to build a Fallout-style vault that far underground? And how did they carve that volcanic rock without causing the entire structure to collapse under soil pressure? Derinkuyu is evidence of a massive defense system, showing that the Earth's past might have been far more dangerous and conflict-filled than we suspected. The Longyou Caves, the mystery without log files. In China, there are 24 man-made caves discovered accidentally by farmers. These caves are large, vast, and the entire walls are carved with a uniform diagonal line pattern. The strange part, not a single historical record in the Chinese Empire mentions the construction of these giant caves. Imagine a project this big must have involved thousands of workers and millions of work hours. How could a mega infrastructure project like this not be recorded by imperial scribes who were usually very diligent in recording trivial matters? It's like there is a 100-gigabyte file on our history hard drive that has no name and an unclear uploader. The Longyou Caves are ghost data in the memory of our civilization. The Unfinished Obelisk, the failure that reveals the secret. Finally, we go to Egypt. There is a giant unfinished obelisk still attached to its bedrock. If finished, it would have weighed 1,200 tons. Here we can see the traces of its workmanship. The logic is, how did they plan to lift a 1,200-ton stone from that hole and transport it to a temple hundreds of miles away? We even struggle to do that with modern heavy machinery today. This obelisk is a remaining bug report, a proof of human ambition that exceeded the limits of the tools they possessed. Looking at this obelisk is like seeing a rendering process that stopped halfway because the hardware couldn't handle it. Out of these 8 structures, we can draw one logical conclusion. Our historical logic might be too narrow. We often underestimate the abilities of our ancestors just because they didn't have electricity. Yet these architectural artifacts show that they had a different operating system, perhaps not based on steam engines, but based on a mastery of materials and mass organization that we ourselves don't fully understand yet. The world is not just a boring linear line. Our history is full of lost technological leaps, erased civilizations, and impossible projects simply abandoned. These structures are silent witnesses that in the past, humans once did things that, according to modern logic, are cheating. That was our discussion on 8 structures that break the world architectural logic. It turns out our past was not as simple as primitive humans eating raw meat. There was systemic intelligence there that makes us realize we might not be the smartest generation to ever exist on this earth. So from these 8 architectural bugs, which one makes the least sense to your logic? Are you more confused by the Lego at Puma Punku or the giant bunker in Turkey? Try writing your theory in the comments. Is this proof of an advanced civilization that perished, or did our ancestors just have a lot of free time to carve stone? Let's have a healthy debate below. Thank you for watching till the end. If you like how we explain complex things to make them make more sense, don't forget to follow Synoptic. We will continue to discuss many everyday things that are actually fascinating, as long as they're explained the right way. Synoptic, the world simplified, one thought at a time.